Welcome to Ignitro Live. Clint Switzer alongside Noah Gronniger. So ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know us, remember our names. Clint Switzer, Noah Gronniger from Starcade Media. It is Ignitro Live. We will be coming to you live every Tuesday night, the most exciting 30 minutes that there is on Facebook Live, because you never know what's going to happen. And right here, Noah, we're going to be setting the scene for the 2021 football season, all the exciting things that we have coming up. So send a Snapchat, get on Instagram, send an email, and tell everybody that the sexy beasts are back, baby.
That we are. And make sure, if you want to comment in here, if you want your Facebook profile picture seen and your name, click the link above in the description and allow StreamYard to access your Facebook profile picture and name. That way, when you comment, everything is seen there. We can call you out by name. We can bring your comment up on screen, and we can get things going right here on Ignitro Live.
We're going to be doing a lot of things, guys. Interviews. We have other shows coming up we're going to be talking about. And for those that aren't familiar with us, of course, we have been involved in sports media now for 9 years, formerly the Great American Sports Network. We are now Starcade Media. That is our brand going forward. And we also started the Patrick Mahomes Fans Powered by Starcade Media Facebook group. So welcome to all of you that are joining us from the Patrick Mahomes Fans group. We love interacting with you. Thanks so much for making it the #1 Chiefs group on Facebook, and we're going to be coming live in this group quite often, guys. So get to know us, get to interacting, get to asking questions, because we are going to be taking questions and all sorts of things later on in this show, and a lot coming up for us, Noah. So we got more than just us. There's more than just Ignitro Live that's new here for us here at Starcade Media, and we're going to be unveiling all that right now. Noah, so excited for everything we have coming up this football season, man.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we are going to be your #1 stop for Kansas City Chiefs coverage and news, guests. I mean, like Clint said there, we have people coming on, huge people from KCTV5, former Chiefs players that are going to be joining us doing shows. We've got 4 shows scheduled right now that are Chiefs focused, and then we've got another one that's going to be Mizzou focused. We're always working on more, but we got you covered here when it comes to Chiefs coverage right here in the Patrick Mahomes Fans page, of course, on Starcade Media and our YouTube.
Yeah, guys, we're going to be coming live from you, Ignitro Live, each and every week, in addition to the other shows that we're going to get to in just a minute. But it's been a labor of love for us. It's been an unbelievable ride. We've done 3 documentary films now, including a film for Marty Schottenheimer, who passed away this past February. And also, we're finishing work on our SEC football documentary, Saturday Supremacy, which should be coming out here late 2021, early 2022. You never know with us, Noah, because we are committed to... We're committed to making this football season as good as it can be, and we want to provide this content not only for our Starcade Media followers, but specifically for the Patrick Mahomes fans. We want to mention that this show is brought to you by Golden Road Brewing. Guys, you see it up there. Kingdom Ale is back, so go to your local Hy-Vee, go to your local Wine and Spirits, and stock up, because they've got new packaging. You're going to want to collect those cans, Chiefs fans. The Kingdom Ale, they're only out for a limited time. They're usually gone by December, maybe January if you're lucky. So Golden Road's Kingdom Ale. It's at your local Hy-Vee. It's at your local Wine and Spirits if you're around Kansas City, even all the way up to Des Moines, Iowa, and around the country. So we thank Golden Road for sponsoring this show. It's always a pleasure working with them and all of our great sponsors here.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got a tailgate. You're going to be watching the game at home. Nothing better than just hit some of that Kingdom Ale. I mean, from Golden Road Brewing, you're going to love those Chiefs cans. Your fans, your friends are going to love it. So make sure you stop by and get some of that for the game.
Well, Noah, take us to our first show. We want to unveil what's going to be happening here, what's going to be going on, and all the extra content that we're going to be laying out for the fans of the Patrick Mahomes Fans Facebook group and our Starcade Media fans as well. Guys, it's going to be tremendous this football season, and your money stays and plays with us, because we have spent the offseason scouring the country to try to put together some high-quality programming. No, I think we've done it. Take it away. What's our first show that we're going to talk about here coming up?
All right, this first one is going to be with 2 former Kansas City Chiefs players, and we're looking right here. The show's going to be called 4-Minute Offense with Kimball Anders and Donnell Bennett, 2 former running backs here in the mid-90s with Marty Schottenheimer. I mean, it was running back by committee, but man, Kimball Anders could do it all. Out of the backfield, he was a great pass catcher. Donnell Bennett was just that blunt force up the middle. So that is going to be huge for us to be able to bring them on. We're going to be on there with them, kind of with the show, talking to Kimball, talking to Donnell, not only about their time with the Chiefs in the 90s, but also the current Chiefs. They're going to be watching the games. We're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes, what they see out of these running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jarek McKinnon, Darrell Williams. Kimball Landers knows Darrell Williams personally, so we're going to be able to go on that level with him.
Okay, so for Chiefs games this year, we're going to make this really interactive. We're going to be going live before and after. We got pre and post game. So let's start with our pregame show, Noah. This is going to be really exciting. Kingdom Kickoff will begin September the 12th, prior to the Chiefs-Browns game. And we have our buddy Rich Baldinger, former KCTV5, former Metro Sports, former Kansas City Chief himself. Rich Baldinger is going to be joining us to get things kicked off for you each and every Sunday or whenever the Chiefs play. A lot of primetime games this year, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. It doesn't matter because your Kingdom Kickoff is going to be right here with us.
Absolutely. Everybody knows Rich so well from his time KCTV5 doing those pregame shows. He's coming on with us pregame this full season, so please stay tuned for that. And Clint mentioned postgame. Well, there's another former KCTV5 member, former sports director at KCTV5. We've got William Jackson coming on for us with our Red Zone Report Chiefs postgame show. That's going to be every week, like Clint mentioned, Sunday nights after the game or whenever it is. Like Clint mentioned, we have a ton of primetime games. So William Jackson will be joining us, taking your questions. Hop us via video or in the comment section, and we'll get all your questions answered about what happened in the game. Win or lose, we're going to be here. We're going to be your stop for a Chiefs postgame show.
Guys, we see some of your comments already popping up here. Nate Harris, he says, what's up, guys? Go Chiefs. Absolutely. If you want to be able to be in there like Nate Harris is right now and have your name seen, you've got to click the link above, the StreamYard link, and click the blue button. That's going to let you have your name seen on these, and we can go to these. Like, for instance, our buddy Shane Williams, he says kick ass. Yes, Shane, indeed. Kick ass, buddy. Thanks for watching on your way home. Thanks for watching on your way home from work, but keep your eyes on the road. Yes. We've got your back. This link will save, brother. Thank you so much for that. So that's how you can kind of interact with us during these shows, and we appreciate you doing that. Getting a lot of comments coming up, and we appreciate that. So it's not just the Kansas City Chiefs, because here at Starcade Media, we are fully credentialed by the SEC, by Missouri football. Going to be there on hand this Saturday as Missouri takes on Central Michigan, which we're going to preview in just a few moments with none other than SEC analyst Hutson Mason, former Georgia Bulldog. He's going to be coming up. He's got the call this Saturday, Missouri Central Michigan, and he's going to be talking about that game coming up. But before we do, we've got to kind of unveil the Mizzou side of things here on Starcade Media, Noah, and that is going to be a show that I'm really excited about. Two guys that I have the utmost respect for, former Tigers, and Henry Josie and James Franklin. There you see it, Mizzou's True Sons. That show is going to be one of my favorite things because James Franklin, one of the nicest guys to ever play football at Mizzou, and Henry Josie, of course, everybody will remember, if you're a Mizzou fan, that 50-plus yard touchdown he had against Texas A&M in 2013 to seal the deal, to send the Missouri Tigers to their first SEC championship game in Atlanta. Henry Josie overcame a devastating knee injury in 2011 to come back and to have a 1,000-yard season. He and James Franklin, two key cogs on that 2013 team, Noah, that came within an eyelash of playing for a national title. Can't wait to hear what those guys have to say about their times at Mizzou and the Tigers that are on the horizon now, the 2021 team led by Eli Drinkwitz.
Absolutely. These guys are really good friends, so they're going to have a great connection. We can't wait to bring them on board for Mizzou's True Sons, talking about it all, like Clint said, back to their time at Mizzou. Going forward into this current Mizzou team, they're going to bring on a lot of guests as well with that former players that they played with. Maybe we can get Gary Pinkel on there. Maybe an Eli Drinkwitz drop in. We're just saying. So please stay tuned for Mizzou's True Sons.
Yeah, it's going to be great, guys. So that's kind of the content we have coming up for you. Hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you'll watch just like you are right now and interact and ask questions. All of our people want to hear it. They want to hear from you guys. They want the interaction just as we do. So, moving on, guys, college football did kick off. It was week 0 this week. We're going to be talking a little bit more about what's coming up really for the big kickoff this week. But guys, we got to talk about this because Nebraska, led by Scott Frost, the prodigal son, year 4. He's supposed to be the guy that leads Nebraska back to the promised land. They have not, had a conference title since the late 90s. Can we get Nebraska back to that level? Well, Scott Frost has come in and given you a definitive answer, Noah. And so far, that answer is no. Nebraska loses 30-22 to the Illinois Fighting Illini. It was Illinois coaches, Brett Bielema's first game for the Illini, and they come out and they stun Nebraska in Champaign. For Nebraska, is it time to panic? Is it time to start thinking about what's next? This program just can't seem to get out of its own way. And right now, I don't think that the Nebraska Cornhuskers really have a chance even of making a bowl game. They've got big road games coming up, one against Oklahoma. They have no chance in that game. They've got Ohio State coming up. They've got Northwestern coming up, Iowa, Wisconsin, the Big Ten murderers row, including Michigan. I think Nebraska's primed for a big fall this season. That did it right there. The Huskers, there are week 0 losers, man, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. Adrian Martinez is not the answer. I don't know if Scott Frost is going to get enough time to go find his own guy, develop his own guy. I mean, they're just kind of lost right now. They're stuck in the old ways of playing football, Nebraska football, with this quarterback, the option game, the running quarterback, good legs, but he can't really throw the ball. He's not accurate. I just don't know if that's going to work in today's day and age in the game, that the way it's evolved. So what's next for Scott Frost? Does he have a third option there, a third opportunity to be a head coach somewhere? I think he's longing for his days at UCF. That seems to be a giant disaster, a horrible mistake, a bad decision to go to Nebraska's alma mater and try it out there. It's not working. Will he have a third stop?
We know there's a lot of Missouri fans out there, and the momentum that Coach Eli Drinkwitz has created at Missouri has been really tremendous. It's through the roof right now with the recruiting. Missouri currently sitting with the top 20 recruiting class going into next year. There's a lot of expectations going into year 2 for Eli Drinkwitz, and it all starts this Saturday against Central Michigan Chippewas, led by Coach Jim McElwain, former Florida Gator head coach, former SEC Coach of the Year. He's at the helm at Central Michigan, and the Chippewas provide, I believe, they're an apt opponent for Missouri, meaning if Missouri doesn't bring its A game, if Missouri comes in overlooking this team, Central Michigan can stay in it. Central Michigan has a transfer quarterback named Sermon from Washington. He was the number 1 recruit in the state of Washington back in 2018. The Chippewas can also run the ball. They can get it done. Missouri may have their hands full. It's going to be great to be at Faroe this Saturday with a full crowd. And we're going to get to our interview with Hutson Mason in just a little bit to preview the game. But Noah, Missouri, expectations are a little higher than in year 1. What's sort of the ceiling for Missouri this year right now?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think you mentioned it. This is the perfect game for Mizzou, a perfect tune-up game for them. I think everyone is expecting them to win, but like you said, they've got to be focused. They've got to come into this game. It's not a game or a team that you can overlook. So they're going to have to be on their game to walk out of there with a win. But I think that keeps them mentally sharp, and that just helps them become a better team when they face Kentucky in week 2 and moving on down. But can Missouri get to that 8-win mark this season? Is that a possibility? I think that kind of is the ceiling that we're looking at for the Missouri Tigers. It's just, can Eli Drinkwitz get it done and keep progressing this program to where it needs to be to win the SEC East?
I've got Missouri finishing 8-4 this year, taking a little bit of a step up and kind of looking to the future. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to our interview with none other than SEC Network analyst. He has the call for the SEC Network at 3:00 this Saturday. It is Hutson Mason. We're going to be talking Mizzou Central Michigan, as well as his alma mater, Georgia Bulldogs, taking on Clemson. That's going to be a barn burner, and we're going to go to that interview right now. This Saturday, Central Michigan comes to Columbia in a game that most Missouri fans, if they're not aware already, probably shouldn't overlook. Jim McElwain's done a tremendous job. 2019 MAC Coach of the Year. They win the MAC division, the Eastern Division, his first year there. They went 3-3 in a shortened schedule last year. You can't sleep on this team, especially if Sermon, the transfer quarterback from Washington, is in fact going to be the starter. We'll probably find that out this week later. Man, this is not a game that Missouri can overlook and sneak by. 13.5-point favorites, one of the lowest lines for the SEC this week. Missouri could be in for a fight, but the Tigers looking for a breakout season themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know how much like year to year what carries over, but Central Michigan 2019, I believe it was, went down and took Miami to the last punch and almost knocked them off. So I think some of these players that were a part of that team, you know, they've walked into the Lions Den before, you know, and I think teams like this, because as a player, right, like I remember what it was like kind of playing some of the group of 5 or the mid-major schools like Central Michigan. And those were almost the games that you had to really go out of your way to make sure you cross all your T's, dot all your I's, because those guys really want to beat you. You know, I mean, these are the guys that didn't get recruited by the big schools. These are the guys that got passed over. So, yeah, Jim McElwain's done a tremendous job there. As far as the quarterback competition, everything out of Mount Pleasant is that they're going to play all 3 quarterbacks. Now, is that the truth? I think it's a bit of mind games, which coaches love doing, and it's frustrating for fans and especially guys like me that are trying to collect as much information and do the broadcast. But they've got 3 different quarterbacks. Sermon from Washington, who got beat out by Jacob Eason out there, transferred, big kid, powerful arm, elite arm talent, but doesn't have a lot of experience playing. And so will they play all 3 quarterbacks? I don't tend to believe so. It's hard enough if you've got 2 quarterbacks, let alone 3. So we'll see.
When it comes to the Missouri Tigers, Conor Basilac comes back for his sophomore year. Eli Drinkwitz has the fan base energized. Recruiting is kind of at an unprecedented level right now for Missouri. What do you see as the ceiling for this Missouri team? Obviously, they get a tough draw in Texas A&M out of the West. Of course, they'll play Arkansas as well. But it's looks to a lot of people like Georgia and Florida at the top. Missouri, where do they figure in all of this?
That's a good question. I've got that question for Coach Drinkwitz as well. We talked to him on Friday, so I'll be eager to kind of hear that. Talk about what's that next step for Missouri, right? I mean, year 2 for him, and last year was such a tough year, a weird year. Again, what carries over? He's got a new defensive coordinator and Coach Wilkes. Last year he wasn't even coaching, and he hasn't been in college for a really long time. So how does his scheme carry over from the NFL to the college game? It is a bit different. Conor Basilac, fantastic year last year, co-freshman of the year. If you're into pace, kind of like in baseball, on pace, I mean, if he played a full season last year, he'd have thrown for over 3,000 yards. I mean, you're talking about freshman quarterbacks in the SEC throwing for over 3,000 yards. That's elite company. And, when you put it in that perspective, it kind of made me sit back and go, wow, I didn't realize that, again, if he had played a whole season, that's how well he was playing. And I know in this conference, man, it's all about the line of scrimmage and the quarterback. And if you don't have those 2 things, it is hard to win consistently. Missouri fans should feel really, really good. Conor Basilac, he's got the chance to be around for a long time. And I think it's so hard to find good quality quarterback play in this conference, let alone guys that are going to be around for a few years. You get a guy through the transfer portal and he's here and gone, or you get got a 2-year starter if you're lucky. But Conor has the opportunity to be here 3-4 years. He's got an opportunity to do some really nice things and special things. I think one thing I'm eager to see this year is can they find a little bit more explosiveness in the vertical passing game. I thought that was one of the things that was missing last year. And they were kind of handcuffed. The way they moved the ball was primarily through, Barrett Bannister in a slot, Kiki Chisholm, some of those guys outside, and then obviously Larry Roundtree. Well, Larry's gone, so Tyler Beatty, can he step in and be a bell cow type back? I think I read the other day where the most carries he's ever had in a game is 12. I was like, is that a misprint? Wow. So he's had 12 a couple times. So I think there's a huge question mark on, when you get into a phone booth, just you got to run the ball out with 4 minutes. You got to be able to run the ball to win the game. Can he carry the ball? Can you count on Tyler Beatty to carry the ball 20 to 25 times a game? So a lot of interesting question marks. But I think going back to your original question, expectations for Missouri this year, like you said, Georgia and Florida, and I wouldn't put Florida in the same category as Georgia, but, they're kind of 1A, 1B. But why can't Missouri be a team that hovers around 9 or 10 wins? Last year they showed a couple of those games. They played just a little better, a few less mistakes. And I know it was a truncated season, but even last year they showed that they've got the talent and the potential to be a team that is kind of that second best team in the East. And I think it's more wide open than it's ever been in the SEC East. I mean, Tennessee's in a rebuild. South Carolina's in a rebuild. And again, I go back to Conor Basilac. You look around the conference in general, there's not a lot of known commodities at the quarterback position. There's not a lot of experience. Alabama's breaking in a new guy. Florida and Emory Jones. He's a veteran by years, but he doesn't have a lot of playing experience. JT Daniels, 16 total starts. He's probably the most veteran guy. LSU breaking the new guy. So Texas A&M, a new guy. So why can't Conor Basilac be the crown jewel of the conference at the quarterback position? I think he can.
Absolutely. We'll be looking for that kind of all the way through the season. But talk about your Bulldogs. They kind of get into the thick of it right here week 1 against the Clemson Tigers. No Trevor Lawrence, no Travis Etienne, but they do have Justin Ross, DJ Uiagalelei. But on the Bulldog side, I mean, you guys got 2 really high-touted transfers coming in. Eric Gilbert from LSU, Darian Kendrick from Clemson. I mean, George Pickens goes down with the torn ACL in spring practice. What do we expect in this week 1 clash?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man. I mean, Vegas has it as like 3 points, and I think that's right on. It's a coin flip type game to me. What's interesting is both teams, it's like the strengths of both teams mirror each other and the weaknesses of both teams mirror each other. And maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe it's not. Maybe the top teams in college football, because they recruit so well. I don't think it is. You know, different guys or different programs have guys leave at different times. The portal helps kind of replace some of that, but both teams have 2 of the elite pass rushers in the country. Brian Bisi for Clemson, Jordan Davis, who's more of an interior defensive lineman, will probably be top 30 picks next year. It's not just those guys. I mean, you like seeing guys get after the quarterback and quarterbacks get hit. I think this is going to be your type of game. Both teams have question marks on the offensive line. Clemson, who's going to start at center? I saw Dabo Sweeney say today that multiple centers are going to play on Saturday, and I'm going, I wonder how DJU feels about that. I mean, I'm not different centers got different amount of sweat on their butt. I'm not kidding. Like they snap it differently. So this idea that you're going to rotate centers like you rotate quarterbacks is crazy to me. But I think the game within the game is can Georgia run the ball and can Clemson run the ball? And I know that's kind of crazy because both these teams in football in 2021 is about explosivity and throwing the ball and creating points. I think that's going to be important as well. But I don't think Clemson can run the ball in Georgia. I really don't. And with Travis Etienne gone, I don't know who their go-to running back is. If you remember last year when they went and played Notre Dame, they lost in double overtime. Travis Etienne played. He averaged 2 yards a pop. So when they don't have it, maybe outside of Justin Ross, who's DJU's going to be go-to guy, even Ross. I mean, he didn't play last year. Really good receiver in 2019, the last time he played, but what can you expect from him back after neck surgery? So this is going to be fun. I think Georgia needs the win more than Clemson. Just from a national narrative and a national perspective, I think Georgia needs that big win. And I think Kirby needs Coach Smart, let me say. Deion Sanders is listening somewhere. Get him out of it.
That'd be awesome.
Coach Smart, I think, needs this win against a very good opposing head coach. I think he needs to kind of quiet that narrative that, he's as good of a coach as he is a recruiter. Everybody knows he can recruit well, but I think there's some questions as, is he an elite coach on the field like Nick Saban, like Dabo Sweeney? And if you look at it, he's had some really big wins since he's been at Georgia. He's beaten Notre Dame twice, beat Oklahoma in the playoff, beaten Florida a couple times, but none of those coaches have won a national championship as a head coach. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important.
Guys, Hutson Mason from 680 The Fan in Atlanta and also from ESPN. We will be looking forward to the call here this weekend, Missouri and Central Michigan, and on to the rest of the season. Hutson, thank you so much for jumping on with us today, my friend. It's a pleasure. Have a great season, my man.
Yeah, guys. See ya.
Take care.
Well, there you have it from Hutson Mason. Very exciting to talk to him about everything. I swear, this Georgia-Clemson game, what a way to start off the season in Charlotte. I think for Georgia, it's got to be playoffs or bust in 2021. Kirby Smart, to me, he's heading closer to Mark Richt than he is Nick Saban. We're going to see what happens this week. I'm so excited for college football, full stadiums. Let's do this, man.
Absolutely. Like you said, my eyes are going to be glued to this Georgia-Clemson game. I think Georgia can take him now that Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne is gone. I think JT Daniels takes that next step. I know they don't have George Pickens. He got the torn ACL in spring practice, but I expect Georgia to come out and win this football game.
Well, Noah, before we bid adieu to you here on Ignitro Live, and it's been tremendous having you all join us. We love your comments. If you want to make a comment, you need to click that StreamYard link and then click the blue button, and that'll let us see your name. We can We don't want to see you as Facebook user. That just doesn't work for us. Before we do, Noah, Chiefs roster, it is the 53 roster. It is done. We're ready to go. It's time to start thinking about Cleveland. Surprises, surprise cuts. Obviously, you look at someone like Tim Ward and you felt like that was someone that was going to really be around and make this team. What else surprised you? And what do you see going forward here?
I mean, Marcus Kemp got cut. That was a little surprising, but they say that once they put an offensive lineman on IR, whoever that's going to be, we're going to see Marcus Kemp back on the active roster. So he'll be back. Kind of some, not really surprises, but Derek Gore and Darwin Thompson, I expected to be cut. I expect them to get back to the practice squad if they're not picked up by anyone, if they clear waivers. Lamons and Dorian O'Daniel being just special teams guys. Dave Tobe has too much say over this roster just because somebody's good at special teams. I feel like Omari Cobb is a better linebacker than Dorian O'Daniel. I thought Bo Pete Key should have made it over Lamons at corner, but I guess Lamons is a better special teamer. Dave Tobe seemed to have a hand in that as well. But it was really good to see Jody Fortson make it. I've been wanting him to make it for years. Finally, he kind of pushed through. We saw him in the kind of press conference they had today announcing that they've made the final decisions on the final 53. Jody Fortson was out there, huge smile, just so happy, but he said this isn't the end. He wants to make the active roster, be in a 4 tight end set with Noah Gray, with Blake Bell, with Travis Kelce, and really show what he can do. He can split out to wide receiver as that's his natural position. And that he thanked Travis Kelce for helping him out, going over to his house after practice, and Kelce really taking him inside the tight end game, what he needs to do, what he needs to develop to make the team. And hey, you can't really fight the results there. He made the team. He's on the final 53.
Well, we know Patrick Mahomes is a fan of this 4 tight end set. Can't wait to see it. I hope it doesn't go the way of Chris Wilson and the secret weapon that we had back in 2004. But no, final Chiefs thoughts heading into week 1. I mean, we're going to be doing a preview next week. We're going to be going in depth with all of it. But right now, as we stand, the Chiefs go 3-0 in the preseason. Don't know what that means. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens have won 20 straight preseason games and really nobody cares. But I think Andy Reid made it a point of emphasis to get these starters some reps, more than maybe you would think in these days of preseason, which, I think that the emphasis is being taken off playing starters. You saw many teams that didn't even bother at all. Joe Burrow took like 3 snaps all preseason, cautionary for him and the coming off an injury. As we head into this, what are your thoughts? Overarching, is this team ready to get back here? Is ready to take it back like Rocky Balboa did in Rocky 3 after losing to Clubber Lang? When he was down in the dumps, he came all the way back. What is your thoughts heading into this? Can this team be the 1 seed again, host a 4th straight AFC championship game at Arrowhead, and get back to Super Bowl once again? Can it happen?
If you would have asked me before preseason, before training camp, I'd be a little more reluctant. But right now I'm going to say, after watching all that, this defense came out of nowhere really and shocked me. I didn't know that these corners were going to play well. I didn't know bringing Mike Hughes over from the Vikings, DeAndre Baker, I didn't know that they were going to play so well. We've got Lamons there as well. We'll see what he can do if he's called upon. Travarius Ward, L'Jarius Sneed seem to be holding down their spots. Travarius Ward made a good open field tackle in preseason that we didn't see him make a lot in his career. L'Jarius Sneed seems to be continuing that development that we have seen. We've had Marcus Cooper here before that we saw great things out of early on, and then he fell off. I don't expect that with L'Jarius Sneed. I think we have a stud on our hands. Chris Jones at defensive end, Jaron Reed at defensive tackle. We're going to have to see what happens with Willie Gay and his toe injury. The wide receiver bunch, I'm a little worried about, but overarching, this team's going for 20-0. I think they can do it. We have the leaders. We have Andy Reid. We have Patrick Mahomes at the helm leading this team. I think the sky's the limit. We can go undefeated this season.
I've got 12-5. I think this is a 12-5 football team. Add that extra game, and that extra game is against the Green Bay Packers, granted at home. I like this Chiefs roster. I like what I see. It's not a worse football team than it was last year by any means. In fact, it's definitely better along the offensive line. But walking out of Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, I said it to you then. I said, there's going to be a giant knee-jerk reaction. They're going to fix this offensive line, and it's going to be crazy. You're not going to believe it. And what they did went well beyond what my expectations were, bringing in Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, the depth like Kyle Long, who's going to start off on the PUP list, of course. Creed Humphrey coming in as a second-round draft pick. I like it. My question is, with the rest of the AFC, knowing what they have to really to catch in the Kansas City Chiefs for the last 3 seasons, Can teams like the Bills, the Browns, you see it even in our own division with the Raiders, bringing in the kind of players that they're bringing in, obviously trying to surround their quarterbacks with as much talent as possible. It's easy. The line in this league is so thin to get caught and surpassed, especially offensively. We saw the Chiefs last year fail to cover in something like 12 out of their last 13 games. I'm kind of worried about this. I think this is a 2 seed in the AFC. I think whoever they lose to out of, say, Baltimore, Cleveland, Tennessee, Buffalo, one of those teams is going to be who's going to win the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs are going to be 12-5 now. They were the Super Bowl champs at 12-4. This isn't a problem. You can go on the play. That's just how I see this playing out with the tougher schedule. And I'm excited to see what happens. I think this game against the Browns is really going to set the scene. Last year, I had the Chiefs losing to the Texans. I had the Texans winning that game. The Chiefs came out, just absolutely guns a-blazing, no problem, business-like performance. And the Texans proved not to be a good football team. But you see our buddy Shane Williams shocked on Marcus Kemp. And he loves Gore. We all do. I think we all saw what he could do. We'll see what happens with the way that the roster is massaged with the injury list and the practice squad coming up. But guys, we want to thank you guys so much. We got so much more coming up on Ignitro Live. This is going to be weekly. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to our guest, Hutson Mason, for jumping on, talking some SEC football. We do it all here. You never know. You might find an actor. You might find a musician popping in. You never know what's going to happen on Ignitro Live, the most exciting half hour on Facebook Live. Clint, Switzer, Noah Gronniger, thank you guys so much for being a part of the inaugural Ignitro Live. And no, it did not take place at the Mall of America, but in your hearts, you know that your money stays and plays with us here at Starcade Media all season long. Thank you guys so much.